Okay, I'm just gonna try to keep this video as raw as I can, be as honest and genuine as I can. It's gonna be really hard because I'm uncomfortable in front of a camera, but yeah, so basically, I was just in the shower, just thinking of ways how I can start my ministry and reach the most amount of people with the lowest startup cost and just the quickest way I can reach souls and testify for Jesus Christ. So this is what I came up with. YouTube. Every person now has a platform. There's no excuse for me to not make YouTube videos and tell people what Jesus Christ has done in my life. And I want everybody to know, take me off a pedestal. I was of the world. I used to live like everybody else. I used to think God wasn't real. He didn't exist, just like everyone else. But I just know that's not true. I've seen him work in my life, and I can honestly tell you I believe in Jesus Christ more than I believe in my hand in front of my face right now. And I want to start off with a verse. The main thing keeping me from doing this, and I'm super shy, I'm insecure. So the fact I'm doing this, the fact that I am going out of my comfort zone to proclaim Christ, it's huge. So I'm not that shy though. But Galatians 1:10, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. So that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm getting in front of my camera and just being honest, and telling you what Jesus Christ has done in my life. I'm going to tell you my testimony. Growing up, I'm going to go and start this drive. I'm going to do the Sam Sulek style. But growing up, my dad was involved with ministry, somewhat. Up until I was about 10 years old, maybe 10 or 11, my dad was involved with ministry. My mom when I was little, she would mention God, but she has always been kind of lukewarm, and now she's a full-on atheist and thinks that God doesn't exist, and thinks that God is actually evil, because he lets bad things happen in the world, which is a totally different topic for another video. It's a stumbling block for a lot of people. But anyway, so I kind of had some seeds planted. I had this rigged up so weird, so if it falls, that's why. But I kind of had seeds planted in my life at a young age of Jesus, for my dad being involved with ministry. But my dad eventually turned away from the church, for a number of reasons. He was involved with something called The Basement in Birmingham, Alabama, and he was serving under a pastor called Matt Pitt. And if you know anything about this, Matt Pitt fell from grace, got really bad into drugs, and he went to jail. And it toppled the whole Basement thing and took so many people away from Christ. And that's what bad ministry does. That's what happens when a person that is not ready for the spotlight, not ready to start pouring into others, that's what happens when they start doing it. But anyway, it's besides the point. So my dad falls away from the faith. I do too. Usually you do whatever your parents do as a young person, a young formable person. So I go from about 10 to maybe 18 living as a full-blown atheist. I get on this kind of like self-improvement, get rich, and I'm trying to think, like Hamza type stuff, Joe Rogan, you name it, I'm listening to it. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to be rich, and I'm trying to succeed financially in every way imaginable, right? So I lived my life that way for a while. And eventually I graduate high school, I get out in the world on my own, and I start feeling the pressure. I start feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders, the pressure to succeed. I'm not going to college. I couldn't go to college. COVID had me so burnt out on school, so I didn't want to go to college, but I knew I had to make something happen. And I felt pressure from my dad to succeed, and pressure from all my friends to outdo them and out-succeed them, you know, like, and just be this big thing, this big deal, right? Anyway, when that wasn't happening, I started to fall apart mentally. Now, like, take that with a grain of salt. It's really, like, some people's fall apart versus another person's fall apart is completely different. But for me, my whole world was crumbling, and I had no idea what to do, right? So one day I was dating a girl I shouldn't have been dating. I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing. I was having sex, smoking pot, hanging out with all my friends, all my worldly friends, and just really living for the world and not for Christ. So I was in a dark spot, super dark spot. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. I remember one day specifically, I was on the way to the gym, and I was just so mad, frustrated, trying to please everybody in my life. I felt the weight. I was feeling it, man. Like, and I was just screaming and yelling in my car. And I finally just cried out to God, because I had something in the back of my mind that God might be real, but I just didn't know it yet, and I didn't know how to receive that yet. So I was like, you know what, God? Show me if you're real. If you're real, then show me. And if you're not, then let me move on with my life so I can have peace with it. So I can just stop entertaining the thought that you might be real, right? So that's what I did. I was on the way to the gym. I get to the gym. About 15 minutes after I cried out to God like that, I see my friend. And he just, I haven't seen him in, like, I want to say 6 to 8 months at the time. And we went to high school together, and we just start talking, you know, and catching up. And he starts talking to me about God, and he just relates to me in so many different ways that I've never been related to, and takes away the pedestal. You know, people of the world, now I'm speaking from experience because I was of the world. People of the world put Christians on such a pedestal, and they think that it's unobtainable for them, and they think they're way better than everybody else, and they're living this fairy tale, you know? At least that's what I thought. I would walk in church and be like, these people are just deluding themselves. They can't deal with reality. It's a made up, it's a, what's the word? Oh my gosh. It's a placebo effect. Yeah. It's a placebo effect. So that's what I just always told myself, but I couldn't raise my hands during worship. I felt uncomfortable in church. I felt not worthy, kind of. He took that confusion away and just really related to me, and that's what I'm trying to do for people. I'm trying to relate to them and let them know from a person that was living for the world, that thought all there was is what we see now. I gotta tell you, Jesus Christ is the way and the truth and the life. There's no other way. Take it from me. I've seen what the world has to offer. I've lived that life, and now here I am, doing something I never thought I'd do, saying things I never thought I'd say, all for the sake of Christ, because I want to see people's eyes open. I want to see people start to live truly, and I want to please God. I want to live for God. But yeah, so anyway, I see my friend at the gym. He starts relating to me and plants a huge seed. I get back in my car after the workout, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was my sign. God just delivered not even 20 minutes after I prayed a prayer, crying out to him, saying, prove it if you're real, prove it. And I was putting God to the test. But I truly believe if you pray, if you ask God to make himself real to you, if you ask him to reveal himself to you, he'll do it. And he will. And if you've never done that, I highly encourage you to just, even if your faith is weak and you don't even know for sure if God is real, I highly encourage you to take a leap of faith and ask God to prove himself if he's real to you, and he'll do it. That was my first sign. And of course, like anybody that is living for the world, I love my sin. I love having sex. I love doing what I want to do, cussing, looking at memes I want to look at, smoking pot, doing just whatever I want to do, and I was in love with my sin, and I thought nothing could possibly be better than my sin. Nothing could possibly weigh up against how I was living at that point, because I was so happy, Anyway, I'm getting a little flushed, so I'm gonna turn the AC on. Anyway, so I keep on living. I ignore the signs that God has been giving me, because I'm trying to hold on to my reality so hard. But eventually God keeps sending sign after sign after sign, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. And if I knew that I was living in denial. I was like, I asked God to prove himself, and here he is proving himself right before my eyes, and I'm still not giving my life to him. If I just keep doing this, I'd be a fool. I'd be an idiot. So what I did one day, final straw, God sent me another sign, and I was like, this is it, dude. I can't keep running. God is literally proving himself real to me, and I'm just ignoring it, right? So I cave. I cry out to God, and I say, Jesus, okay, you're real. I see your signs. I see how you've been moving. I buy it. Lord, I don't want to live alone again. I don't want to live alone. I don't want to do it alone. I can't do it alone. I need you. Please be my Lord and Savior. And then I promise you, after I prayed that prayer, I broke down in tears and cried like a baby and saw with new sight. People talk about seeing with new sight. It's real. It's real. And, not everybody's path to Christ looks the same. So, don't be shocked if this didn't happen to you. It's all different. Your walk with Christ looks different than mine. I'm just telling you my testimony, my story with God. So after that, I just feel the weight of the world lifted off my shoulders. The pressure's not all on me anymore. And I knew I'd never have to be alone again. And to me, that just meant the world. And I could just cry and cry over that for so long. It was just the best, man. But anyway, like a lot of different walks, a lot of different people, my path to God wasn't perfect. So after that happened, I keep dating this same girl. I'm scared to break up with her, even though I really want to follow God. So of course I'm not in the Word. Nobody told me I had to be in the Word. Nobody told me to read my Bible daily, renew my mind daily. And I keep having sex with my girlfriend, and I keep trying to live for what the world offers, and I get pulled away. I lose faith in God. And I turn my back on Christianity. I remember the culmination of this. Like one night I was sitting in my girlfriend's bed. I used to sleep at her house every night. I was sitting in my girlfriend's bed just sweating and tossing and turning until like 1 a.m, and I couldn't sleep because I was like, how could God be real if people claim to talk to God when they take DMT? That's how weak my faith was. That DMT freaking pulled me away from God, and I hadn't even taken DMT. It was crazy. Anyway, but so I fail. I turn away from God. I run away from him. My faith was weak. I turn and live for the world again. Break up with my girlfriend, go crazy, sleep with so many different girls. And I was at my emptiest. I just graduated the fire academy. And towards the end of the academy, I felt myself being pulled back to God. I felt God reeling me back in, and I felt my soul longing for him, and I'm getting emotional. But I missed him. I missed God, and I felt terrible for ever leaving him. So I was taking my parents to Nashville one day, and I was driving back from the airport, and I was just like bottom. I was at the bottom, and I was like just being honest with God. It's the first time I've ever, I think, just been real genuine and leveled with God. And I was like, God, how come it's so hard for me to have faith in you? How come I see everybody around me having an awesome relationship with you, but it seems like I can't do it? And I didn't understand, you know? And I think it just took that one intimate moment with God where I asked him for a personal relationship. That's where it changed. So I prayed that prayer in my car. I cry all the way home. I'm listening to, what's that song? How to Be Yours by Chris Renzema or something. Yeah, that was it. And I just bawled my eyes out. And I was like, why can't I be God's? Why can't I belong to Christ? You know? So I get home. I'm in my bed crying some more, just crying, being a freaking crybaby. Because it's okay to cry in front of God. And if you can't cry from God, I don't know what you can cry from. Because our human body just can't handle how good he is and how loving he is. But anyway, so where was it? Oh yeah, so I'm in my bed that night. I'm like, God, please, I just want a personal relationship with you. That's all I want. I just want to know you more than anything. Please let me have a personal relationship with you and give me faith. Praying for faith is where everything changed. I asked God to give me faith because we live in a world that is so pinned against us and makes it so hard for us to believe in God that faith is a pure gift from God. And we have to ask him for it. And we have to ask our eyes to be open and for us to be able to have faith in him, right? That is the night where it all changed. Now, it wasn't it wasn't like that, you know. I was still sinning for a while. I was still living for the world for a little bit, but I was getting progressively cleansed. God was progressively changing the desires of my heart. First it started with I wouldn't cuss anymore. Then I didn't want to have sex with girls anymore because I just felt dirty and felt so convicted because the Spirit was growing within me, right? But, you know, it's just a process. And people think, especially now with instant gratification, everything is like this. Everything is like, oh, I need it now. I need it right now. But with God, a lot of it is processes. Now, sometimes it happens quick, but usually God works in processes. But yeah, after I pray that prayer, I'm like, well, I got to get in church. Asked my friend Griffin, and I'm like, hey, do you know any good churches around here? I want to take my walk with God seriously. And he says, something's telling me that Refuge would be a good fit for you. That's where I'd go to this day. This was only like 10 months ago that this story happened. I've only been a Christian, fully dedicated to Christ for 10 months. And, but yeah, so I go to Refuge. There's an altar call at the end of service, and I go to the altar even though I'm freaking shaking, scared. But I knew I had to. Something in my spirit just pushed me to do it. And I just get on the altar and weep and weep. And my friends prayed over me. And from that moment on, I knew there was no turning back, for sure. And since that day, you know, learning how to love God, learning how to have a relationship with God it's new. And it takes time to learn how to do it. But I promise you, person of the world, listen to me, please. I promise you it's so worth it. It's the best decision you'll ever make. I encourage you all to ask God to reveal himself to you. If you're a Christian, I encourage you to give everything to him. Die to who you are and allow Christ to live within you and live for his glory. Don't compromise. Don't meet him halfway. Don't try to hold on to things. Don't try to hold on to sin. Don't try to hold on to control over your life, to your wants and needs, because I promise you God's way is better. He loves you so much. He wants a relationship with you. I think that's it. I think that's all I can say right now. I'm probably gonna, I don't know how often I'll post, but I'm probably gonna make YouTube videos and just, this is how I'm gonna start my ministry. This is how I figured this is the best way. This is the fastest way I can reach a lot of people. You know, not expecting it to blow up or anything. If I can just reach one person with this message, if I can just encourage one person to follow God, if I can just plant one little seed, it'll all be worth it. So please follow Christ. Man, I could sit here all day and tell you how good he is and how good of a decision it is to make. So pray for your eyes to be open. Pray for God to make himself real to you. And when he does, give your life to him and don't look back. And I'll probably make videos on how you can get closer to him. And another thing, just don't be intimidated by Christians or church. That's the enemy. He wants you to be intimidated. And he wants you to think that there's such a far disconnect you could never know God. But there's not. God is right around the corner. All he's waiting on is you to be intimate, real with him, and ask for that relationship. So God bless. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.